Badass Attitudes, licensed here, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Certifying badasses, one podcast at a time. Turn up your energy with Fruitful Friday. Here's Kelly Orchard.
All right. I just love me some Bobby Ocean on this Fruitful Fridays. Hey, February is National Heart Month. So for the entire month of February, I'm giving away my first book, my prescriptive memoir, Heart Lessons, free. Details are in the show notes. You can also purchase a physical copy if you choose to. I'll even sign it for you, badass, I promise you. Link to both are in the show notes. But first of all, I want to tell you love is a positive emotion. And this month we're celebrating also National Heart Month and the month of love. And the attitude vibe is going to be all things that matter to your heart, the mind, the body, and the spirit. I am Kelly Orchard, the Badass Certifier, certifying badasses one podcast at a time. Now let's begin with some apple a day. That's what Fruitful Fridays is all about after all. So these are some of my apples that I just share with you. So do you wish that your life was different than it is right now? Are you frustrated that you aren't as happy or as successful as you expected to be? When you set out on a journey toward personal growth, you commit to learning, listening, and pursuing new ways to branch out, meet new people, and explore new ideas. When you commit to personal growth and remain open to new ideas and stop closing your mind to opportunities, you plant seeds that will lead to the life you imagined for yourself. When we stop growing, we become frustrated. In his book, Unapologetically You, Reflections on Life and a Human Experience, Steve Maraboli writes, "You're frustrated because you keep waiting for the blooming of flowers of which you have yet to sow the seeds." Go out there and sow some seeds of personal growth and make sure to plant lots of them. And then accept the seeds of change. I often teach that becoming aware of a problem is the initial seed to plant in order to accept that change must occur. Are you feeling lost or insignificant? Have you been experiencing too many closed doors or too much drama in your life lately? Does a problem keep recurring and you just can't seem to understand why you must continue to address it? If so, you have reached a level of awareness that is actually the first seed to help you make lasting change. Once you are aware there is a problem that continues to occur, whether you're in your personal life or your professional life, you've planted the all-important seed of recognition. What is it? Are you in an abusive relationship with your mate or your boss? Do you wonder why you keep getting sick or feel stress or anxiety? Are you unhappy in your job? Are you depressed but you just don't know why? If you're answering yes to any of these, it's time for you to begin planting new seeds. How? By not ignoring the problem. You might need to seek help to get some answers. So get a mentor, a coach, or a therapist and accept the seeds of change. And another thing you can do is continue listening to this Successful Badassery podcast. I'm going to help you find your heart's desire, I promise. The process of growth includes trusting your feelings, learning from the past, taking chances, and realizing that everything changes, and finding happiness. Create a morning ritual for yourself that focuses on what you want to desire for that day. Start by visualizing a great day. Find a quiet moment in the morning to program your mind about the kind of day you would like to have. If you close your eyes and picture a tranquil morning and afternoon, you can carry that inner peacefulness throughout the day. I have adopted this daily practice in my life, and it has made a huge impact on my personal and professional growth. I encourage all my clients to spend time visualizing what they want their day to look like, as well as their week, their month, and their life. You can begin practicing this act of love for yourself even while you're at your desk. Just take a moment to imagine what you want. When you engage all 5 senses, you begin to truly visualize your day. What does it feel like, smell like, taste like, sound like, and look like? I go over this a lot in my License to be Badass self-paced program, which you always have access to at any time. Just shoot me an email and I'll let you know all about it. Meanwhile, trust your heart to lead you where you truly want to go, and know that things are likely to change and you'll be fine. So these have been some of Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day. You can get these daily by subscribing to Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day podcast on the same platform you're listening to the Successful Badassery podcast. Imagine that.
A growing attitude changes when it encounters courage. It becomes badass. Fruitful Fridays with Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day and Weekend Vibes.
Now, as I shared with you last week on Fruitful Friday, the month of February is National Heart Month, and I am a heart failure survivor. In fact, that is the catalyst that caused me to change my career from broadcasting to mental health. And so all of this month, not only am I giving away my book, Heart Lessons, absolutely free. You just got to find the link in the show notes and click it, and you can have it free right there in your inbox. I'm also allowing you to purchase it if you want a physical copy of it, and I'll sign it for you, badass. But meanwhile, I'm also reading a little bit of excerpts from the book because it really does tell my story. So this week, I'm going to read a little bit of Lessons in Surrendering. All right. Other words for surrender is abandon, relinquish, or submit. The meaning of surrender means to give up possession or power over, to yield or resign oneself to an emotion, an influence, or etc. Isaiah 43:18-19 says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Don't you perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." I'm very thankful that I was already in a habit to keep a journal when my heart crisis materialized. When one is in crisis mode, all emotions and senses are heightened because of adrenaline. But when it subsides, you don't always remember everything. I'm a visual person, both in dance and in words. And once I was hospitalized, I sent my daughter home to get my personal items for me, as we knew I was going to be staying for a while. The most important item on my list was my current journal. What I'm honored to share are the raw emotions, the fear, the uncertainty. When a person is entering or in crisis, any kind of crisis, it's all too easy to ignore, rationalize, and even dismiss our immediate thoughts, feelings, and fears. When the crisis becomes to wane, we tend to forget about the things that we experienced. Mindfulness is an important consideration when you experience a crisis. So how do we define a crisis? Well, let's look at this. It's death, medical emergency, a natural disaster, an automobile accident, losing your job, a divorce, addiction, child abuse, spousal abuse, financial crisis, or how about just feeling like you've lost yourself? Any event that causes one to feel a sense of anxiety, urgency, or fear can be considered a crisis. It's important for you to acknowledge it and maintain awareness of it and then own it. When you can finally do that, you have a decision to make to either give up, fight, or survive and surrender. Deciding which course of action is definitely a personal one. Survival is key, but with some crisis, all we can do is surrender to it until the storm passes. Now, I'll share with you some of these excerpts from my personal journals, but I'll leave them in my book for the most part. But this is July 8th, 2006, from my personal journal. My health crisis took us all by surprise. Didn't see it coming, but here I am in the hospital with a newly uncovered condition called atrial fibrillation, AFib. It started out the day after having a party with my family. July 4th, I woke up not feeling so great. Sure, I had a few margaritas, but not enough to really have such a bad hangover. I felt so badly I couldn't even watch the fireworks. I felt bloated and weak and was having trouble breathing. When I woke up in the morning, I was much worse. My stomach was in such pain and felt swollen. Plus, I couldn't breathe. After looking online and my medical books for some sort of home relief remedy, I realized I was in distress and needed to go to the ER. We sat in ER for 6 hours. They took blood and urine, x-rayed me, and did an ultrasound. They gave me an antibiotic and a shot for something and told me I had some fluid in my lungs and a kidney infection. After a breathing treatment, they sent me home with instructions to get my doctor involved, including making me sign a form that I do just that. I had a pretty rough night and woke up feeling weak and still couldn't breathe, but at least my tummy wasn't so bad. I got in to see the doctor and told them why I was there. They requested my records from the ER and went over them all. He kept checking my heart rate and spent a lot of time with me. He didn't like my heart rate and sent me over immediately to see a cardiologist. What? What was going on? Once they hooked me up to an EKG and saw my heart rate, they began treating me as if I was made of glass. A normal resting heart rate is 60 to 80 beats per minute. Mine was 161 beats per minute. The doctor was seriously concerned and had me admitted to the hospital. I guess they were all surprised I was still upright. I had a 7 times greater chance of having a stroke. My doctor is perplexed. Why do I have these conditions? Apparently, we're also dealing with a bit of pneumonia and a kidney infection as well. How long will I be in this hospital? Now, I go on a little bit, and it's like my heart issues continued to be chronic. A few days in the hospital were not the end of it. It wasn't the cure. It was only the beginning. Some follow-up appointments provided hope, but then others had me crashing down into depression again because, as my doctor often told me, my heart was like a rebellious child and it didn't want to cooperate. A few times the word heart transplant crossed my consciousness, and that set off a whole new course of concerns. Now, I said that this is lessons in surrendering, and I'm going to skip through a little bit about this because I want to share with you this very important part. That one simple comma changed my entire perspective. I don't exactly know what age I started to relate with Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. I just remember feeling so afraid of the Wicked Witch and so happy that Dorothy had the Scarecrow as her best friend. Before videotapes, VCRs, and DVDs, we could only watch the movie when it came on television once a year. But even when we had technology of the day, I would watch it as often as I could. I related because of a number of reasons. Dorothy felt alone on the farm, even though she had family around and friends. She just knew she wanted something more. I imagined my 3 older brothers as the farmhand characters who later became my friends in the fantasy, or her friends in the fantasy, that is, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. Dorothy had a rich imagination, and I had loved her ruby red slippers too. As I matured, I started to understand the underlying themes in the story, the search for one's heart's desire, the yellow brick road as the journey of our lives, with friends and mentors we meet along the way and experiences that help us, and the obstacles that get us or get in our path. I even started to understand how once Dorothy gets to where she thinks she wants to go, over the rainbow where dreams come true, that she learns that to find her heart's desire, she didn't need to look any further than her own backyard, which was already in her heart to begin with, and that she had the power all along to find her heart's desire. It is such an empowering story, and I am Dorothy. Of course, the dual metaphor for heart was where I identified with the story now. Now, I'd like to encourage you to get your copy of my book, Heart Lessons, and continue reading the lessons in surrender, because in the film The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch flies over her broomstick with the land of Oz and threatens them, surrender Dorothy, or else. The entire land of Oz is hiding from the Wicked Witch, and everyone is trembling and terrified. One day I had this epiphany that the witch was my heart crisis, and that I was terrified and hiding from it. Then I just added a comma, and the message became, surrender, Dorothy. That is when I surrendered my heart crisis. I couldn't fix it on my own time frame. I just had to surrender to the process and accept whatever was to come. God had something different planned for me. I was going to be in the helping field. Have you been ignoring your calling? What is that nagging thought or idea that continues to be stirred up in your heart and mind? Are you putting it on a shelf and denying its existence? You are part of my miracle, and I hope that you continue to stay on this journey. It's Fruitful Friday. Let's come back with some weekend vibes, shall we?
This is badass territory. No sniveling. Fruitful Fridays with Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day and Weekend Vibes. Let's take a bite of some Apple a Day topics.
All right, so as we go into weekend vibes, I want to share with you a little bit about lessons in water skiing. And this is from the Lessons in Surrendering chapter in my book, Heart Lessons. When I was 16 years old, I learned to water ski. It was my passion for many years, and I have taught and coached countless people how to water ski. There is a phenomenon that occurs with just about every water skier in the beginning. Let me paint the picture for you. You're in the water and you put your skis on your feet, and you've got a handle on the rope gripped tightly in your hands, and you feel confident that this is the time that you will rise to the top of the water and the boat will pull you along and you'll feel the thrill of achievement. And for about 30 seconds, that's exactly what happens. You say, hit it! And the boat begins to move and the rope tightens and gently pulls you out of the water. You are skiing. You feel elated that you got out of the water and are now sailing along. But what happens? And you begin to wobble. Something goes wrong. The wake isn't as steady as you imagined it, and it's harder to keep your legs steady than you thought. And then some sort of wave hits your skis and knocks you off balance. Suddenly, you've lost your footing, and you grip that rope handle even tighter as you begin to fall into the water. Your skis have now fallen off your feet, and your face is underwater, and the boat drags you along like a torpedo with the water rushing up your nose as your body is beaten up by the harsh waters of the boat's wake. But something inside you says, if I just hold on, I'll get back up again. So the boat drags you for a good 30 seconds. Meanwhile, your friends in their boat are yelling, but you can't hear them. You know what they're saying? Let go of the rope. Life is like that. In times of crisis, when it's clear that we are just in it, we grab hold of our resolve and struggle along trying to get back on our feet or back on track, when the best and most peaceful approach is to surrender to the course. When you let go of the rope, you immediately free yourself from beating up by the drag, the bouncing, the force of the fight, and the water shooting up your nose and in your throat. You stop drowning while you allow yourself to be dragged by a forceful pull. Your vest buoys you in the water and you can breathe. Oh, sure, you're going to have to shake off the shock of what just happened, but you'll soon begin to feel the calm, the pause, the quiet, and you can think straight. And you'd probably be saying out loud, what the hell was I thinking on, hanging on so tight? So let go of the rope. Believe me, when you're holding on to right now isn't worth it. Once you take the choice or make the choice to surrender to this event in your life that's dragging you along on a path that causes you anxiety, frustration, depression, when you let go and surrender, you'll be able to think more clearly and you'll be able to look at the circumstances yourself and all those people around you from an entirely different perspective. Remember the words of the Serenity Prayer. And we're going to do this instead of a music song today. The Serenity Prayer goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking, as he did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. Written by Reinhold Neubar. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. It's Proverbs 3, 5-6. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the weekend vibe, and here is what I want to encourage you to do, because we surrendered a little bit in Lessons in Love, and I'm giving that book away for free. It's absolutely yours. Just go to the show links or show notes, and you'll find the link. So more of Fruitful Fridays are coming up. This month we're going to focus on love and the weekend vibes, the importance of doing something that nourishes your mind, your body, and your spirit. It can be something as simple as a hot bath or a glass of bubbly or taking on a full hike, or I don't know, maybe you want to go do something different for a change. Cleaning out your closet is always a good thing to do. It's very therapeutic and cleansing, and you find things that you hadn't forgot were in there. It's great. So make an appointment with yourself this weekend, whatever nourishes your soul. And then remember, for your badass soundtrack, make sure you're listening to something fun while you're at it. Because as we attach songs to a warm, happy memory from the past, we also want to build songs from the future or where we are right now to help us to continue to be able to have warm, happy memories to look back upon when we need them. I'm Kelly Orchard, and this is Fruitful Friday. I'm out, you badasses. Have a great one.
What's this to be badass 2? Sounds like a code or a password, to be badass 2. Actually, it's what happens when you listen to Kelly Orchard and get your attitude certified to be badass 2.
Thanks for listening and getting one step closer to being licensed to be badass. Be sure to subscribe to continue on the bus to Badassville. Snag your Badass Habits ebook at licensedtobebadass.com. You can stay in the slow lane and get just enough tools for successful badassery, one podcast at a time. Or you can join the Badass Ambassador crew in the fast lane by checking your baggage with my Licensed to be Badass integrated program with videos, worksheets, and group coaching for motivation, mindset, and a fresh approach to living a fruitfully badass life.
Be sure to subscribe and hop on the bus to Badassville. Monday, again, we turn up the energy. Tune in and tune up. Be bold. Be brave. Be confident. Be badass.